The Home Affairs Department plays a crucial role in dealing with foreign migrants and ensuring they have the correct documents. My guest tonight is Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. Good evening, Dr. Motsoaledi, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with today's briefing. When you sat as cabinet colleagues and decided that you needed to hold this briefing, what was the point? What was the background?
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers and listeners out there. Well, obviously, the nation is on tender hooks, Vuyo. They would like to know what's happening. They like to know what is likely to happen next. And we wanted to allay the fears of people so that they must know that something is happening. This situation is being put under control.
Did you think you managed to allay our fears?
Well, I think so, because we outlined and gave you information which we think you might not have heard before.
Well, we've heard a lot of it before, that police are on top of things, but you didn't perhaps give us, I would say, sufficient evidence to convince us that one of the areas that were thought to be a loophole, and that is crime intelligence, was particularly handling its work well.
Well, we did give information, and the minister, both the Minister of Police and Intelligence, gave information to the effect that intelligence matters are not discussed in public. And they told people that they actually gave a list of areas where attacks could have taken place if there was no intelligence. And so, which means if intelligence was not active, the situation might have been worse than what we have seen. The fact that some of the actions were thwarted in other townships, which the Minister of Police read and announced, is because there was crime intelligence. And the fact that some people, they mentioned 170 people who were arrested even before they committed the acts because of crime intelligence.
Well, we'll see, Minister. Proof of that will be in how many people do indeed get prosecuted. And you are indeed correct when you say that intelligence is not something that happens out there for all to see. But then there are things that in fact give confidence, certainly from where the South African public sits, that things are indeed in control. Because a lot of people say, or at least intelligence experts say, it was clear that things were not anticipated. In other words, intelligence wasn't able to move in ahead of the criminals, you call them, in most cases, and actually make sure. In fact, things did happen, and a lot of people were actually either caught in the act or caught committing acts, whether you're calling them acts of criminality or xenophobic attacks, but a lot of the people were actually caught in the act and not before they committed those acts.
Yes, I'm saying it is true that some of the actions has taken place, which is bad, but I'm saying it could have been worse if intelligence was not working. Those experts are fishing because they want the Minister of Intelligence or intelligence authorities to stand on top of the mountains and announce what they've done and what they are going to do. That's not how intelligence works. Intelligence works at all times silently. That's why even when it goes to account to Parliament, that meeting is not open to the media. I'm sure you are aware of that. When the intelligence community go to brief Parliament, unlike all of us in other departments, who are grilled in public and ask questions so that you know openly whether we have won or failed, intelligence doesn't work like that. So you won't know what they have done, but they were assuring that they are doing something, and some of the actions have been thwarted.
Now, your party's Secretary General, Ace Magashule, this morning said that there was a meeting, the officials, the top 6 officials of the governing party, the ANC, held a meeting yesterday, whereafter they then instructed, or were going to instruct, those of you who are members of parliament to fast-track or initiate and fast-track a review of legislation that may actually make it a lot more difficult for both the so-called xenophobic acts and the violence against women to be committed. Do we know exactly what it is that or the areas that you are targeting, and are there timelines?
Well, I did not hear the press conference because I was involved in cabinet most of the day. I mean, in cabinet committee issues most of the day, not in cabinet. So I did not hear them, and I was at Luthuli House when they met, so I don't know the results. But I can attest to you that we've been worried for a long time. If you look at our laws in South Africa, they mostly favor the perpetrators. You know, applying bail, getting parole, and being listened to. And people have been complaining about this for a long time. So it's high time that we tighten the laws. Remember, View, most of our laws, including some part of the Constitution, stems from the era when we were still fresh from apartheid, and we're trying to stop the excesses of apartheid. We're not aware that criminals are going to take advantage of the new laws to cause havoc in the country, making use of the democratic laws that gives them a lot of rights. So, and I'm not saying we're going to take back people's rights, but we need to review them. For instance, the issues of bail, they need to be reviewed, because not everybody should just get bail as it used to happen, you know.
Now, your particular area, Home Affairs, has been fingered by many people as also one of the loopholes in the system, in that a lot of people manage to come into the country illegally, undocumented, and those are some of the people who are actually creating problems.
Guilty as charged, Vuyo. Guilty as charged. You are aware that we have accepted long ago that part of the problem is that our borders are very porous. So this issue was not taken by the Department of Home Affairs only. It was taken by the whole JCPS cluster. It was even discussed at the conference of the ruling party in Nasrec. A resolution was taken that we need to implement quickly the Border Management Authority. And you'll be aware that this decision was taken as far back as 2013 to start putting together, enacting a bill to establish a Border Management Authority so that our borders are managed better. And that bill has already passed in the National Assembly. It was unfortunately stuck in the National Council of Province for 2 years. The issues that make it get stuck, we've been discussing it ever since the elections for the past 100 days, and they've been finalized. Yesterday, I personally wrote a letter to the chairperson of the of the Select Committee on Social Affairs in the National Council of Provinces to tell them to take the bill and make sure that we actually move it forward so that we implement the Border Management Authority. So we do accept that there is a serious weakness there.
Minister, while I still have you, one quick one. You are aware that there's this document that Treasury released recently, which looks at how to turn things around as far as the economy is concerned. Now, from the pronouncements that were made by the President last year, you were supposed to play a very important role in visa regulations to ensure that more and more tourists come into the country. You were supposed to relax their visa regulations. Many people found not to be making sense. How far is that process?
I'm sure you are aware that we have announced a number of countries where we are giving them a visa-free regime. We have announced 4 countries, and we started implementing at the beginning of September, we have announced Qatar, we have announced Saudi Arabia, we have announced United Arab Emirates, we have announced New Zealand, and on the day of that announcement, we have also announced that we are finalizing with Ghana, Sao Tome and Principe, and Cuba. And then we further announced the issue of e-visa, which we agreed is going to be piloted this very month to make it very fast and easy for those countries that needs to be applied for visas, that you get an e-visa. The difference is that you apply online, you don't have to go and queue in our embassies around the world. You apply online and we respond to you online, and we send you an electronic message, you take it, you rush to the airport, that's where they'll give you a visa. It's going to make life very easy. So we are already busy with those type of things. But we also remind people that they must remember that with the exception of the DRC, all the people in the SADC countries don't need a visa to visit South Africa.
Well, a good move, your critics say, but they also point out that the countries you have mentioned aren't really on the priority list. You should be targeting your India. You should be targeting your China. If you look at China, for example, more than 1 billion people, but you only have one center that services those people, and that's in Beijing.
Well, we have targeted India and China, but we are not giving them a visa-free regime, because giving a visa-free regime has got many other considerations, Vuyo, than just tourism. You need to look at least 3 important issues. You need to look at the security and stability of the country. You need to look at the developmental needs of the country. You need to look at international protocols and agreements that have been made, and you combine them and you take a final decision. So for India and China, we have approached it differently. For instance, if you remember, during my budget speech in July, on the 10th of July, I've announced that we are going to increase 2.5 times the number of people who are issuing visas in China and India. And we also mentioned Nigeria, by the way, that will increase the number of people who are issuing visas. And we are in the process of preparing to do that. And we think it will make it much faster.
Minister, thank you very much for your time this evening. Home Affairs Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Now,